Discovery in the VIP suite. Max's footsteps echoed through the gleaming corridor of the Galactic Dream, the luxurious cruise liner that served the galaxy's elite. Each step was a reminder of his mundane existence, pushing a cleaning cart past the opulence he could only dream of. The ship's engines hummed softly, a constant companion in his daily routine. As he wiped a smudge from a polished wall, he stole a glance at the viewport, where the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to his troubles. His recent divorce had left him feeling isolated, a stark contrast to the sparkling, carefree world of the ship's passengers. He tried to ignore the persistent ache of missing his children, which gnawed at him with each passing day. A burst of laughter from a group of revelers jolted him from his thoughts. They stumbled by, their joy a sharp contrast to his melancholy. One of them knocked over a potted plant, spilling soil across the pristine floor. Max gritted his teeth, resisting the urge to retort, and focused on cleaning the mess with mechanical precision. The hours blurred together as he completed his shift, his mind preoccupied with a vid call he had with his kids the night before. Their chatter about their mother's new boyfriend felt like a knife twisting in his gut. Just as he was about to clock out, his communicator buzzed. It was Jorgen, his supervisor. "Max, I need you to handle a special job." Jorgen's gruff voice crackled through the device. "VIP suite on Deck 12 needs a deep clean. Passengers left in a hurry. Get to it." Max suppressed a groan. "I was just about to clock out. Can't someone else handle it?" "You're the best we've got. This needs to be done right," Jorgen insisted. The line went dead before Max could protest further. Muttering under his breath, he gathered his supplies and headed for the elevator. The VIP suite was a stark contrast to Max's crew quarters. Opulent furnishings and cutting-edge tech filled the spacious room, but it was clear a whirlwind had torn through. Clothes were scattered, empty bottles littered every surface, and an acrid smell of some alien narcotic hung in the air. Max grumbled as he set to work, his movements efficient yet mechanical. He was nearly finished when a soft thump from the walk-in closet caught his attention. Frowning, he approached cautiously. "Hello? Anyone in there?" No response came, but as he opened the door, Max's jaw dropped. Huddled in the corner, partially hidden behind hanging garments, was a child, a little girl no more than 5 or 6 years old. Her skin was a vibrant, unmistakable blue. Max's heart raced. "Holy," he breathed, then quickly softened his tone. "Hey there, sweetheart. It's okay. I won't hurt you." The girl didn't respond, shrinking further back into the corner. Max's mind raced. What was an alien child doing hidden in a passenger's closet? He needed to report this, but something held him back. The fear in her eyes stirred something protective in him, evoking memories of his own children. "Are you hungry?" Max asked gently, reaching into his pocket for the protein bar he'd been saving. He unwrapped it slowly and held it out to the girl. After a moment's hesitation, she snatched the bar and devoured it ravenously. Max's heart clenched. How long had she been hiding here? "Can you understand me?" He tried again. "What's your name?" The girl tilted her head, making soft clicks and whistles. It was clear she didn't speak any language Max recognized. He ran a hand through his thinning hair, weighing his options. If he reported this, the girl would be taken into custody, probably poked and prodded by scientists. But if he didn't, well, he'd be risking everything. "Ah, to hell with it," Max muttered. He crouched down, meeting the girl's gaze. "Listen, I'm going to help you, okay? But you need to trust me and stay quiet." He held out his hand. After a long moment, the girl took it. Her skin was cool to the touch with a slightly rough texture. Max's mind raced as he tried to formulate a plan. "First things first, we need to get you out of here without being seen," he said, more to himself than the child. His eyes landed on a large laundry bag. "It's not ideal, but it'll have to do." Max quickly emptied the bag and turned back to the girl. "I'm going to put you in here, just for a little while. I promise I'll let you out as soon as it's safe." The girl's eyes widened in fear, but Max's gentle tones seemed to reassure her. With great care, he helped her into the bag, leaving it partially open so she could breathe easily. "Okay, here we go," he whispered, hefting the bag onto his shoulder. His heart pounded as he left the suite, praying he wouldn't run into anyone on the way to the service quarters. Luck was on his side, and he made it to a seldom-used storage room without incident. Once inside, he quickly let the girl out of the bag. "See, all safe now," Max said, trying to project calm he didn't feel. "Now, what am I going to call you?" The girl blinked at him, her head tilted in curiosity. Max's eyes fell on a discarded magazine featuring a lush garden world. "How about Bloom? You like that name?" A small smile tugged at the corners of the girl's mouth, and she nodded. "Bloom it is, then," Max said, returning the smile. "Now we've got to figure out how to keep you hidden and fed. This isn't going to be easy." Secret allies. Over the next few days, Max fell into a nerve-wracking routine. He'd work his normal shifts, then sneak food and supplies to Bloom during his breaks. The girl was a quick learner, picking up basic gestures and even a few words, but she still couldn't speak any recognizable language. It was during one of these visits that Max nearly had a heart attack. He had just entered the storage room when he heard footsteps approaching. Frantically, he signaled for Bloom to hide behind some crates. The door slid open, revealing Zoe, one of the ship's stewardesses. Her eyebrows rose in surprise. "Max, what are you doing in here?" Just restocking some cleaning supplies," he stammered, trying to look casual. "What brings you to this neck of the woods?" Zoe's eyes narrowed slightly. "I thought I heard voices. You talking to yourself in here?" "Oh, you know me," Max forced a laugh. "Always muttering about the job. Helps pass the time, right?" Zoe seemed unconvinced. "Well, don't let me interrupt your restocking," Zoe said, turning to leave. As she did, a small sneeze echoed through the room. Zoe froze and whirled back around. What was that? Max's mind raced. "Probably just the air recyclers. They've been acting up lately," he said. But Zoe was already moving past him, her keen eyes scanning the room. Before Max could stop her, she'd spotted Bloom peeking out from behind the crates. "Oh my God," Zoe gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Is that... Max, what the hell is going on?" Max slumped against the wall, knowing the jig was up. "It's a long story," he sighed, "but I swear I'm just trying to help her." Zoe's eyes darted between Max and Bloom, who had emerged fully, regarding the newcomer with cautious curiosity. "You better start explaining," Zoe said, her voice low and intense. "And it better be good, or I'm reporting this right now." Max took a deep breath and launched into the story of how he'd found Bloom and why he decided to hide her. As he spoke, he could see the conflict playing out on Zoe's face, duty warring with compassion. "This is insane," Zoe said when he finished. "Do you have any idea how much trouble you could be in?" "I know," Max replied, running a hand over his face. "But what was I supposed to do? Turn her over to be treated like some lab specimen?" Zoe bit her lip, then crouched down to Bloom's level. The girl shrunk back slightly but didn't flee. "Hey there," Zoe said softly. "I'm Zoe. It's nice to meet you." Bloom tilted her head, then slowly reached out to touch Zoe's hand. A look of wonder crossed the stewardess's face at the contact. "She's so cold," Zoe murmured, looking up at Max with determination settling over her features. "Okay, I'm in. What do you need?" Relief flooded through Max. "You'll help? Really?" Zoe stood, brushing off her uniform. "Someone's got to make sure you don't get caught." Besides, she glanced back at Bloom with a soft smile. "We can't just abandon her." As they began to plan how to better care for and hide Bloom, Max felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He wasn't in this alone anymore. But a nagging voice in the back of his mind whispered that this was just the beginning of their troubles. Max's footsteps echoed through the empty corridor as he made his way to the storage room where Bloom was hidden. It had been a week since Zoe discovered their secret, and her help had been invaluable. As he approached the door, he couldn't shake the feeling that their luck was about to run out. Unraveling secrets. Max's routine with Bloom had settled into a precarious balance. He worked his shifts, Zoe provided covert support, and Bloom remained hidden in the storage room. Every interaction with the girl deepened Max's concern for her safety and made him question the choices he'd made. The situation seemed manageable until the day he stumbled upon something that made his blood run cold. It started like any other shift. Max had finished scrubbing the ground lobby and was heading to the storage room for his scheduled visit with Bloom when he noticed something strange. A maintenance panel in the corridor was slightly ajar. Max frowned and approached it cautiously. Inside, he saw wires and tech that didn't belong to him, but what caught his attention was a small, blinking device attached to a series of sensors. His heart raced as he realized it was a surveillance camera setup. "Shit," Max muttered, backing away quickly. He couldn't afford to be seen tampering with the tech. Instead, he slipped back into the shadows and waited until the coast was clear. Once he was certain no one was around, he carefully removed the device and stowed it in his cleaning cart. Max's mind raced as he headed to the storage room. Had someone been watching them? And if so, why? When he arrived, he quickly and quietly opened the door, making sure Bloom was out of sight. "Bloom, I need to tell you something," Max said softly, kneeling beside her. The girl looked up with wide, curious eyes, sensing his tension. "I found something in the corridor, a surveillance device. Someone might be watching us." Bloom's eyes widened in fear, her blue skin shimmering under the dim lights of the storage room. Max tried to soothe her with a gentle smile. "I'm going to take care of it, okay? Just stay quiet and stay hidden." Max left the storage room, the stolen device tucked securely in his cart. He knew he needed to get it to Zoe as soon as possible. If there was a chance someone was watching, they needed to know about it. Zoe was on her break in the employee lounge when Max found her. He slipped into the room, his heart pounding. "Zoe, I need your help. I found this in the corridor," he said, pulling out the surveillance device. Zoe's eyes widened as she examined the tech. "Where did you find this?" "In the maintenance panel by Deck 7, Max explained. "Someone's been watching us." Zoe's face grew serious. "We need to figure out who's behind this. If they're monitoring us, it means they're looking for Bloom." Max nodded, anxiety making his hands tremble slightly. "What do we do?" Zoe took a deep breath, her mind clearly working through the problem. "First, let me take this to a friend of mine in the tech department. She might be able to trace it and figure out where it's feeding data to. In the meantime, you need to stay low and keep Bloom out of sight." Max agreed and returned to his routine, though his usual tasks felt like a blur. The knowledge that someone was actively searching for Bloom cast a long shadow over every moment. His mind was focused on the potential danger. Later that evening, Zoe contacted Max via a secured line. "I've got some news," she said, her voice tense. The device was transmitting to a central security hub. "Someone high up on the ship is monitoring everything." Max's stomach churned. "What does that mean?" "It means they're either looking for Bloom specifically or keeping tabs on the staff," Zoe explained. "Either way, it's bad news. We need to be extra cautious." Max's mind whirled with the implications. Someone with power and influence was involved. What's our next step? "We need to find out who has access to the security feeds," Zoe said. "I'm going to dig around in the system and see if I can identify who's pulling the strings. In the meantime, keep Bloom hidden and make sure she doesn't make any noise. We're walking a tightrope here." Max agreed, and with a heavy heart, he returned to his quarters to prepare for his next shift. Bloom's safety depended on their ability to stay hidden and outmaneuver their unknown pursuer. As days passed, the tension grew. Max noticed subtle changes in the ship's atmosphere. Crew members seemed more on edge, and whispers of a security breach floated through the corridors. It wasn't long before Max felt the full weight of their precarious situation. One night, as Max was cleaning the upper decks, he noticed a group of high-ranking officers in a heated discussion. Their voices were low, but Max could catch snippets of their conversation. "Unauthorized activity. Surveillance. Need to find the leak. Max's heart raced. They were talking about him, about Bloom. He quickly retreated, his mind racing. The officer's words confirmed his worst fears. The search for Bloom was escalating, and they were closing in on the source of the breach. Returning to the storage room, Max found Bloom hiding in her usual corner, her small face etched with worry. "How's it going?" she asked in her halting but improving grasp of the common language. "We're in trouble," Max said softly, kneeling beside her. "But we're going to get through this. Zoe's working on a solution, and we just need to be extra careful." Bloom clung to him, her blue eyes filled with trust. Max held her close, determined to protect her at all costs. As he prepared to leave, he felt a renewed sense of urgency. They needed to stay ahead of their pursuers and find a way to secure Bloom's future. The stakes were higher than ever, and Max knew that the next few days would be crucial. They were in the heart of a dangerous game, but he was ready to fight for Bloom's safety with everything he had. Unveiling the truth, the tension aboard the ship had reached a critical point. Bloom's situation had become increasingly precarious. Despite her quiet demeanor, the strain of being on the run and constantly hiding was taking its toll. She had been forced to move to different parts of the ship under the cover of darkness, never staying in one place for too long. Max's efforts to help Bloom were becoming more desperate. He needed to find a way to secure her safety and uncover the truth behind her situation. His investigation had revealed troubling details about the Project Eden and its ties to the ship's secretive operations. However, the more he uncovered, the more dangerous things became. One evening, while perusing through the encrypted files he had managed to access, Max stumbled upon a crucial piece of information. It was a report detailing the treatment of abducted aliens, and the data mentioned a specific date, today. According to the report, a new batch of alien captives was set to arrive on the ship, and one of them was noted as highly valuable. This revelation hit Max like a ton of bricks. The implications were staggering. If the report was accurate, Bloom was in imminent danger. He knew he had to act quickly, but he also needed more information. He decided to take a calculated risk. He reached out to someone he had barely spoken to, a member of the ship's engineering team named Zane, who had a reputation for being both discreet and resourceful. Max had overheard Zane discussing engineering issues that suggested he had a deeper understanding of the ship's systems. Zane, in his late 20s, was known for his ability to fix almost anything on the ship. He had a reputation for being reliable, and Max hoped that if he could gain Zane's trust, he might be able to help them. Max approached Zane during one of their brief downtime moments. He found him in a quiet corner of the mess hall, tinkering with a small device. "Zane, right?" Max began, trying to sound casual. Zane looked up, his expression a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Yeah, that's me. What's up?" Max took a deep breath. "I need your help. I've uncovered something that might be dangerous, and I think you're the only one who can help me." Zane's eyebrows furrowed. "Dangerous? What are you talking about?" Max lowered his voice. "I've discovered that there's a secret project on this ship involving alien captives. I need to find out more about it, but I don't have the right access or expertise. I heard you're good with this kind of stuff." Zane's interest was piqued. "I see. What exactly do you need?" Max hesitated, but decided to be as straightforward as possible. "I need you to help me access certain restricted areas and information. There's an alien who might be in danger, and I believe the project is related to her. I need to find out more and get her out of harm's way." Zane studied Max for a moment before nodding slowly. "All right, but this better be worth it. If what you're saying is true, then we're talking about serious trouble. Let's meet after our shifts. I need to know more before I make any decisions." Max felt a wave of relief. "Thank you. I'll see you tonight." As the hours ticked by, Max found it increasingly difficult to concentrate on his duties. His mind was consumed with thoughts of Bloom and the growing urgency of their situation. When his shift ended, Max made his way to the designated meeting point. Zane was already there, looking serious and prepared. They quickly exchanged details, and Zane agreed to help Max access the restricted files and systems related to Project Eden. In the dimly lit engineering bay, Zane worked with a practiced hand, bypassing security protocols and decrypting sensitive information. Max watched with bated breath as Zane navigated through the ship's data systems. After what felt like an eternity, Zane looked up with a grim expression. "I found something. It's worse than we thought. There's an imminent transfer scheduled for tonight, and Bloom is listed as a priority subject. If we don't act now, she'll be moved to an even more secure location." Max's heart sank. "We need to get her out of here before they move her. How much time do we have?" Zane checked the data again. "A few hours at most. We need to be quick and careful." The two of them began devising a plan. They needed to get to Bloom, help her evade capture, and find a way to expose the truth behind Project Eden. The stakes had never been higher, and they were running out of time. As they worked on their plan, Max couldn't shake the feeling that their fight was just beginning. The truth was more complex and dangerous than he had anticipated, and they were about to face challenges that would test their courage and resolve in ways they never imagined. The rescue operation. The ship's corridors were bathed in an eerie, artificial light, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly. Max and Zane moved stealthily, their footsteps muffled against the metal floors. They were on their way to find Bloom before the transfer was set to take place. The urgency of their mission weighed heavily on them, each passing second increasing their anxiety. The plan was risky but straightforward. They had to reach Bloom, disable any security measures in her path, and get her to a secure location where she could be safe. They have identified a storage area near her current holding cell that would serve as a temporary refuge until they could figure out their next move. Zane led the way, using his technical skills to override security locks and bypass surveillance systems. Max followed closely, his mind racing with possible scenarios and contingencies. Every door they passed, every corridor they turned down, brought them closer to their goal, but also increased their risk of detection. Finally, they reached Bloom's cell. The door was locked with a sophisticated security system, but Zane had anticipated this. He pulled out a portable device, tapping away at it as it interfaced with the lock mechanism. Max watched the door with bated breath, knowing that any noise or misstep could lead to their discovery. The device emitted a soft beep, and the lock clicked open. Zane gave Max a reassuring nod, and they slipped inside the small, dimly lit room. Bloom was huddled in a corner, looking anxious and disoriented. Her eyes widened when she saw Max and Zane. "Max?" Bloom's voice was barely a whisper, tinged with relief. "What's happening?" "We're here to get you out," Max said, his tone urgent but gentle. "We need to move quickly. There's no time to explain everything, but we'll get you to safety." Bloom's eyes darted between Max and Zane, a mixture of hope and fear in her gaze. I don't know what to do. They're going to move us soon." Zane stepped forward, holding up a small, modified communications device. "This will help us stay in touch and keep track of the situation. Let's get out of here before they realize something's wrong." With Bloom in tow, the trio made their way back through the ship's labyrinthine corridors. Zane led them through a series of maintenance tunnels and service passages, avoiding the main routes to minimize the risk of detection. The atmosphere was tense, every creak and distant sound making them flinch. As they approached the storage area, Max noticed something alarming. The usual quiet of the ship was punctuated by distant shouts and the clamor of approaching footsteps. It seemed that their actions had triggered an alert, and the crew was starting to mobilize. "We've been compromised," Max whispered urgently. "We need to get to that storage room now." Zane picked up the pace, leading them through a series of quick turns and down a narrow, dimly lit corridor. They finally reached the storage area, a small, cluttered room filled with various supplies and equipment. Zane quickly deactivated the lock and ushered everyone inside. Once inside, Zane closed the door and activated a security measure to keep it shut. They could hear the sounds of searching footsteps outside, the crew apparently closing in on their location. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the ship's machinery and the occasional muffled sound from outside. "All right," Zane said, catching his breath. "We're in. For now, at least. We need to figure out our next move and stay hidden until the heat dies down." Max nodded, his mind racing. "We need to figure out where they're planning to transfer Bloom and stop it. If we can find that out, we might have a chance to get her to safety." Bloom, still shaken but more composed, looked at Max with gratitude. "Thank you for doing this. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come." Max gave her a reassuring smile. "We're not out of danger yet. We need to stay alert and keep our wits about us. Zane, do you have any way of tracking the transfer schedule or the movements of the crew?" Zane nodded, pulling out his modified communications device. "I've managed to tap into some of the ship's internal communications. I might be able to find out where they're planning to move Bloom. Give me a moment." As Zane worked on his device, Max and Bloom huddled in the corner, their anxiety palpable. Every minute felt like an eternity, the tension in the room almost suffocating. After what felt like hours, Zane finally looked up, his face grim. "I've located the transfer schedule. They're moving Bloom to a higher security facility for what they call interrogation. It's a secure area that's heavily guarded." Max's heart sank. "We need to get there before they do. We'll have to navigate through some heavily guarded sections of the ship, but it's our best chance." Zane nodded, already moving to prepare for their next move. "We need to be quick and cautious. I'll guide us through the ship's systems and keep us updated on any changes." The small team gathered their things and prepared for the dangerous journey ahead. Bloom was anxious but determined, knowing that her life and the lives of others depended on their success. Max felt a renewed sense of urgency as they prepared to face the challenges ahead. The stakes were high, and their path was fraught with danger, but the determination to save Bloom and uncover the truth was their guiding force. The dangerous passage. The storage room was dimly lit, its small window offering only a sliver of the starlit void outside. Max, Bloom, and Zane sat in tense silence as they prepared for their next move. Zane's device beeped softly, indicating that the ship's security measures were still holding. It was time to move. Zane, his face illuminated by the soft glow of his device, glanced at Max and Bloom. "We need to navigate through some of the most heavily guarded areas of the ship. It's going to be dangerous, but it's our only chance." Max nodded, his mind racing with the possible scenarios they might face. "How far is this facility?" Zane checked the device, his brow furrowing. "It's several decks up and quite a distance from here. We'll have to use the service shafts and bypass main corridors. It'll be slow going, but it's the safest route." Max turned to Bloom, who was visibly nervous but determined. "Stick close to us. Zane will guide us, and we'll get through this." Bloom nodded, her face resolute. "I'm ready. Let's do this." The trio made their way out of the storage room, moving through the dimly lit maintenance corridors. Zane led the way, his device beeping intermittently as he monitored their progress. The corridors were filled with the hum of machinery and the occasional clank of distant footsteps, creating an eerie atmosphere that only heightened their anxiety. As they moved deeper into the ship, the maintenance tunnels grew narrower and the air more stifling. Max could hear the distant sounds of the crew searching for them, their shouts and footsteps growing louder as they approached. Zane's device occasionally picked up signals from the ship's security systems, providing a momentary glimpse of the dangers ahead. At one point, they had to stop and hide as a patrol of guards passed by. Max held his breath, watching as the guards' footsteps grew louder and then faded away. The tension in the narrow tunnel was palpable, every creak and whisper seeming amplified in the silence. Once the patrol was out of earshot, Zane motioned for them to continue. "We're getting close to the transfer facility. We'll have to be extra cautious from here on out." The trio continued their journey, the the passage becoming increasingly treacherous. The corridors were lined with security cameras and motion detectors, making their approach even more dangerous. Zane worked quickly to disable or bypass each security measure, his hands moving deftly over his device as he manipulated the ship's systems. Finally, they reached a large maintenance hatch that led to a service shaft. Zane opened it carefully, revealing a dark, vertical shaft that extended upwards for several decks. The only way up was to climb. Zane glanced at Max and Bloom, a hint of concern in his eyes. This is the most direct route, but it's risky. We'll need to climb up the shaft and then move through the ventilation ducts to reach the facility. Max nodded, his mind already calculating the best way to approach the climb. Let's get started. We don't have much time. With Zane leading the way, they began their ascent. The climb was grueling, the shaft narrow, and the handholds uneven. Max took the lead, his muscles straining as he pulled himself up. Bloom followed, her grip tight on the makeshift harness Zane had rigged to assist them. The climb felt endless, every muscle in Max's body aching as they ascended through the ship's interior. Sweat dripped down his face, mingling with the grime of the shaft. Despite the exhaustion, he pushed forward, driven by the urgency of their mission and the need to ensure Bloom's safety. After what felt like an eternity, they finally reached the top of the shaft and emerged into a ventilation duct. The duct was cramped and dark, the air stale and heavy. Zane led the way through the duct, his device providing occasional guidance as they navigated the twisting passages. As they moved through the duct, Max's mind raced with worry. They were getting closer to the transfer facility, but the dangers they faced were far from over. The facility would be heavily guarded, and any misstep could jeopardize their entire mission. Finally, they reached a vent that overlooked the transfer facility. Zane carefully removed the vent cover, allowing them to peek inside. The facility was a large, secure area, filled with rows of cells and armed guards. Bloom's heart sank as she saw the heavily fortified environment. "This is going to be tough," Zane said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We'll need to be quick and precise. I'll take out the guards as we go, but you need to stay close and follow my lead." Max nodded, his mind already strategizing their approach. "Let's do this." The trio carefully made their way down from the ventilation duct and into the facility. Zane worked swiftly, using his device to disable security systems and neutralize guards as they moved through the facility. Max and Bloom stayed close, their nerves on edge as they navigated the dangerous environment. Despite the challenges they faced, their determination never wavered. They moved with purpose, each step bringing them closer to Bloom's freedom. The facility was filled with obstacles, but their combined skills and resolve guided them through. Finally, they reached a secured room where Bloom was supposed to be transferred. The room was heavily guarded, but Zane had anticipated this and prepared a plan. He used his device to create a diversion, drawing the guards away from the room and providing a window of opportunity for Max and Bloom. With the guards distracted, Max and Bloom slipped into the room. It was a tense few moments as they waited for Zane to join them. The room was filled with equipment and monitors, providing a momentary respite from the chaos outside. Zane arrived, his face determined and focused. "We've made it this far, but we need to move quickly. There's a secure transport pod nearby that we can use to escape. It's our best chance." Max nodded, his mind racing with the plan. "Let's get to the pod and get Bloom to safety." The trio made their way to the transport pod, their hearts pounding with anticipation. The facility was still on high alert, but they managed to navigate through the chaos and reach the pod without further incident. As the pod's doors closed and the ship's exterior became visible through the small viewport, Max let out a sigh of relief. They had made it. Bloom was safer now, and their mission was complete. But the journey was far from over. The ship was still in pursuit, and they needed to find a way to escape and ensure Bloom's continued safety. As the transport pod moved away from the facility, Max looked at Bloom, his face filled with a mix of determination and hope. "We did it," he said, his voice steady. "But we still have a long way to go. We need to find a safe place and make sure you're protected." Bloom nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for everything. I don't know how to repay you." Max gave her a reassuring smile. "We're not done yet. Let's get through this, and then we'll figure out the rest." As the transport pod sped away, the trio faced an uncertain future. But for now, they had succeeded in their mission, and Bloom was safe. The next steps would be crucial, and the journey ahead would be challenging, but their resolve and determination would guide them through. The new beginning. The transport pod glided through the cold expanse of space, its sleek design cutting through the void with quiet efficiency. Inside, Max, Bloom, and Zane sat in silence, the gravity of their recent escape settling over them. Bloom looked out the small viewport, her face a mixture of relief and apprehension. Max sat beside her, his mind already racing with thoughts of their next move. They had succeeded in rescuing Bloom, but the danger was far from over. The ship's pursuit was relentless, and their escape plan was just the beginning of a longer journey towards safety and freedom. Zane, seated at the control panel, was busy recalibrating the transport pod's systems. He glanced over his shoulder at Max and Bloom, his face showing a blend of exhaustion and determination. "We're heading toward a safe zone I've identified. It's a remote space station that's off the main routes, so we should have a better chance of avoiding detection there." Max nodded, his mind focused on Bloom's safety. "Good. We need to regroup and plan our next steps. The immediate danger is over, but we need to ensure we have a secure place to lay low." Bloom turned to face them, her eyes filled with gratitude and uncertainty. "What happens next? What if they find us?" Zane offered a reassuring smile. "We'll be in a secure location where we can make new plans. We'll also contact allies who can help us stay hidden and provide additional resources." Max reached out and placed a comforting hand on Bloom's shoulder. "You don't have to worry about that right now. Focus on recovering and staying safe. We're going to make sure you have the protection you need." The journey to the space station took several hours, each minute feeling like an eternity as they remained on high alert. The vastness of space outside the viewport was both calming and intimidating, a reminder of the uncertainty of their situation. Finally, the space station came into view, a sprawling structure of metal and glass floating amidst the stars. Its design was futuristic yet functional, with a network of docking bays and observation decks. As they approached, the station's security systems scanned their transport pod, ensuring that their arrival was discreet and secure. The pod docked smoothly, and the trio stepped out into the space station's bustling docking bay. The atmosphere was a stark contrast to the oppressive silence of the pod. The station was a hive of activity, with traders, engineers, and travelers moving about their business. Zane led the way through the docking bay, navigating the maze of corridors and passageways with practiced ease. Max and Bloom followed closely, their eyes scanning the surroundings for any signs of danger. Despite the chaos, the space station felt like a sanctuary compared to the tense escape they had just endured. They arrived at a secure room within the station, a private suite with all the amenities they needed for a brief respite. Zane turned to Max and Bloom, his face showing a mix of relief and determination. "We're safe here for now. I'll make contact with our allies and start planning the next steps." Max nodded, his focus shifting to Bloom. "Get some rest. You've been through a lot and you need to recover." Bloom gave a grateful smile, her eyes reflecting a sense of hope. "Thank you, both of you. I don't know what I would have done without your help." As Bloom settled into a chair, Max and Zane began making arrangements for their continued safety. Zane reached out to contacts within the space station's network, securing resources and information to help them stay hidden and protected. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as they established a new routine and built a network of support. Zane's contacts proved invaluable, providing them with safe houses and intelligence on potential threats. Max and Bloom worked together to adapt to their new environment, their bond growing stronger as they faced each challenge together. Bloom's health and morale improved, her gratitude evident in every smile and gesture. The space station provided a new sense of stability and safety, a far cry from the dangerous confines of the ship they had escaped. One evening, as they gathered in the secure room, Max looked at Bloom with a sense of optimism. "We've managed to stay one step ahead for now. Our next goal is to ensure you have a future free from fear and uncertainty." Bloom's eyes sparkled with determination. "I'm ready to start a new chapter. I want to contribute and help others who might be in similar situations." Max smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "That's the spirit. Together, we can make a difference." Zane nodded in agreement, his face filled with a sense of accomplishment. "We've come a long way, but our journey isn't over. We'll continue to fight for what's right and support those who need it." As the days turned into weeks, Max, Bloom, and Zane found a new rhythm in their lives. The space station became a place of healing and hope, a beacon of possibility in the vastness of space. Their efforts to stay hidden and secure paid off, and they began to forge a path toward a brighter future. The trio's bond grew stronger with each passing day, their shared experiences forging a deep sense of camaraderie. They had faced incredible challenges and overcome immense obstacles, but their journey had only just begun. Together, they looked toward the future with hope and determination, ready to face whatever lay ahead. In the end, their story was not just one of escape and survival, but of resilience and the power of human connection. Their journey through the stars had brought them together, and their shared mission to make a difference was a testament to the strength of their spirit. As they gazed out at the endless expanse of space, they knew that their future was bright, filled with possibilities and the promise of new beginnings. They had found safety and purpose, and their adventure had only just begun.